Welcome, Solara here. I hope you guys are doing well. It is Thursday, June the 27th, as I get ready to record this message for you. It is the Sunrise Salutation message from my Solara Speaks Substack. You have a few more days if you want to join and make the most of the free content over there, because the month of June was an open house for all, so there was no paywall. But from the month of July onwards, we go back to regular programming over there. So I hope that those of you who have been, over on Substack, you've been enjoying the daily free content. Yes. So, and thank you to those of you who showed up this past weekend for both my events, my Substack monthly group Q&A on Sunday and the group check-in I hosted on Saturday. I had such a beautiful time with all of you. It's so lovely to be able to interface and to see the people who have been supporting me, and also those of you who my work and my words have been helping to elevate. It's such a treat for me also to be able to host these events and to provide guidance to you in real time. So thank you. I do have 2 more events this weekend. I will put the information for that in the description box below. One is an intimate gathering only for 7 people, and that is, I host this monthly. If you're not able to make it this month, it's called The Road Back to Wholeness. And the second one is I'm going to bring back on Sunday the group check-in with live card pull and personal guidance. So if you're interested in either one of those, you can find the links below that will take you to the full information about the events and the seats that are still available for purchase. But without further ado, here is today's Sunrise Salutation, number 49. Everything protected under the shadow of the moon must come under the scrutiny of the sun, if it is to be properly resolved. Everything that is hidden and protected by the shadows of the moon must come under the scrutiny of the sun, if it is to be properly resolved. Cancer season gives us access to these shadows, and then Leo season helps us to rise into the wisdom and glory attained by them. Right now, there is a lot being moved around in our emotional bodies, as that which has been hidden and submerged by survival instincts of forgetfulness, denial, and repression surfaces into our mental consciousness for surveillance. Some of these surfacings are more obvious than others, but even that which is less obvious can be accessed through the fullness of self-trust and your intuition. Your intuition and internal guidance are divine gifts designed to keep you safe. You were wrongly taught in this world to trust what you see with your eyes before aligning with what you were sensing and feeling internally. You were taught to blindly follow and trust authority figures, beginning with your parents and older relatives. This was done purposely to cause you to get used to rejecting and betraying yourself in order that you would take on external voices and programs as your masters. Divinely, nothing and nobody is to be master over anyone but their higher selves. Even Source or God does not overwrite our free will. When we allow things and beings outside of ourselves to master us in any way, shape, or form, we open ourselves up to paths of deception. We then are open to being easily duped by illusions and tune out of all of the internal mechanisms and warnings designed to bring us back into the fullness of security within self and our connection to Source. Cancer season lays bare those areas where we still may be tempted to betray our own hearts and intuitive wisdom for that which, in its material format, appears to be more logical, stable, real, or authoritative. These decisions to settle for that which makes sense materially but falls out of alignment with our own internal leanings leads to suffering and harsher lessons. It is not a season to doubt yourself. Abandon everything else before you ever abandon self and your truth again. Cancer season will test how secure you feel in your own ability to do this, in your ability to trust yourself above all other external persuasions and cling to that intrinsic awareness that you have always been safe in your own hands. Cancer season and transits will show you where, who, and what you find your security in, for better or for worse. There are many emotional masters that seek to rise and take over in this season, from our own fear-based codependent leanings to the programs first installed and instilled in us through blood, ancestry, and our mothers. However, the only one steering your boat through the torrent of past emotions and remembrances being brought up into your conscious awareness should be your own higher mind and higher heart. Cancer energy always connects us back to our experience of home. However, many of us have never known our homes to be safe places. We have become familiar with living in accordance with the behaviors of certain people, the ways we've adapted ourselves to promote fake peace, and the habits and traditions we've enforced over time in order to maintain some semblance of security and a home base, among others. Unconsciously searching or aligning ourselves with those situations, behaviors, traditions, or people that make us feel at home can be a dangerous thing for some of us. I found home in my ex-husband. He felt comfortable and familiar to me, and I even would marvel at how much he reminded me of my mother early in our union. This is the man who also ended up walking out on me when I was pregnant with our second child, only to try and return later and attempt to kill me while our babies lay asleep in the next room. People and situations that feel like home can be dangerous if our home bases with our families of origin were toxic, dysfunctional, or abusive, especially spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. These types of abuse are easier to hide under the false constructs of tradition, family loyalty, and love than outright physically abusive family structures. Those players in our families of origin that have tried to destroy us in both covert and overt ways are beings we often carry a lot of past life trauma with. When we don't find resolution with the original story, we keep on finding ourselves in timelines with them and their likenesses. This can happen across lifetimes, but it also occurs within the same lifetime. For example, my coming together with my ex-husband in this lifetime was a culmination of a lot of past life trauma that was still unresolved with the character and player that is my biological mother, and the many entities she has opened herself up to host in every decision she has made to hate on and betray herself, and therefore others too. This is but one of many reasons why he reminded me of her. My mother is one of the biggest self-betrayers and self-saboteurs I have come across, and she tried to fashion me to do exactly the same thing for her own purposes. From toddlerhood, I became the target outside of herself where she would spew her unresolved shame into. In this way, she made me into a container for her self-hatred and shame, thus opening me up to be run by the very entities that haunted her. This is why at the age of 6, I was suicidal, confused, and spiritually open to attacks in both my dream and waking life. When I look at my mother, her hatred towards me and all her children is more obvious than I would care to admit sometimes, as it is still so heartbreaking in its truth and experience. However, nothing will ever trump the hatred she has towards her own self. If there is one thing I am 1,000% clear on now, it is this. Mothers who hate their own children are only ever showing us their own level of self-hate and repulsion. I no longer take my mother's hatred for me personally. It still hurts, but probably not as much as the prison of self-hatred she finds herself stuck in still. I know this for a fact, as she tried to make me her captor in that very cage, and it came close to completely obliterating and destroying me. This Cancer season, I am being liberated from even more layers of the many chains of unresolved trauma that once bound and chained me to this soul, and energies of her likeness across lifetimes. I am seeing myself in the situation more clearly than ever as I trust my own spiritual eyes and internal wisdom over the lies and stories she still endeavors to drown and cage me in. I will no longer share in her torment, as if those chains and bonds are part of my destiny. They are not. In truth, they are not part of her true destiny either, but she has chosen to settle for a lie instead of healing and rising into truth. I am crafting and securing my own safe space and foundation upon which my true home is being constructed and developed. This true home is free of the generational squatters and hostile ancestral entities that my mother allowed to run free and even joined in their attempts to destroy me, while my father failed to take up his assigned role as protector. The emotional imprinting that came through our family structures that opened us up to self-destruction, self-rejection, self-betrayal, and to become fodder for the entities and systems of this false matrix is what is being highlighted and shown to many of us so that we can make peace and depart from these spells for good now. Everything that is hidden and protected by the shadows of the moon must come under the scrutiny of the sun if it is to be properly resolved. What stories and patterns are arising for you at this time? What roots of your own emotional imprinting are being laid naked before you for your own acknowledgement, scrutiny, and liberation? May all that has broken your heart repeatedly reveal its root and genesis this season. May you know what you wrestle with in the dark corridors of your own soul so that it can no longer play the part of boogeyman in your life, blocking you from everything that makes you beautiful and who you are by blinding, binding, and casting you unwittingly into fear, guilt, and shame stories. May that boogeyman show his face and all of the fake tools he's been using to keep you from seeing his tricks. May you be liberated into the full glory of the sun by first dancing naked before the moon. Ashe. For access to all of my articles and installments in full, please make sure to check me out on Substack at dailyalchemy.substack.com. For all of you who choose to become monthly or annual patrons, you will have continual access to these articles as they are published, as well as to the full archive of all my articles, decrees, as well as my works of nonfiction and poetry. Every month, my patrons also get the opportunity to connect with me in a group Q&A via video link. So if you feel that that would be helpful on your healing and ascension journey, please make sure to check me out on dailyalchemy.substack.com. Wishing you guys all a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day.